My name is Dontez Lindsay. I am the general manager of Ducks Trading LLC, as well as the lead trainer of StockCraft. I'm not a financial advisor, nor a CPA, and the content I create is for entertainment and educational purposes only. I trade in my account, and everything I do is hypothetical in nature because it doesn't happen in your account. My experience with trading is not typical, nor does it guarantee that similar results will be obtained by you. I am merely sharing my opinion with no guarantee of gains or losses in investments. Remember, day trading can be extremely risky. You should be prepared to lose all the funds that you use for day trading. In particular, you should not fund day trading activities with retirement savings, student loans, second mortgages, emergency funds, funds set aside for purposes such as education or home ownership, or funds required to meet your living expenses. Further, certain evidence indicates that investments less than $50,000 will significantly impair the ability of a day trader to make a profit. Of course, an investment of $50,000 or more will no way guarantee a success. With that out of the way, let's get into the content. Good morning, guys. Good morning. So, there were a lot of tickers yesterday that ended with over 100%, and a few of them had resistance. Long story short, I traded, made money. It wasn't ideal, but still made money. Got pretty lucky. Other than that, Steven has a webinar soon, or I think he should. So I'm gonna end this early. And what I see available now doesn't look like much I would like to go on. There are like a lot of tickers from yesterday. I'll go over them slowly. Scanner define the stock gap of 15% intraday once the market is closed. So for like a super wide search, I look at FinViz and I just play with those kind of screeners. I save my favorite stats that I like to screen for, like if I'm look for multi-day runner or anything with volume that fits in a specific sector. But yeah. But other than that, let me turn on the music. Yeah, yesterday's morning stream, I talked a little too much in terms of like talking long. And yeah, I gotta go back to having shorter shows. Now, the one that's moving today is BRTX. This one, it didn't have a resistance in its near history, but there is one of like 10 million that goes as low as 470. Now, this one right now, it already had a pre-market high of 430. And being up that far, it was only about 40%. We know the minimum for the bounce short was changed to about 50, but I still think 40 is like viable. But 10 million resistance it doesn't seem reliable. So you throw that on top of it being a biotech, that just makes it something that I don't feel. RTX. Oh, yeah, I just don't think that's going anywhere. Yeah, but other than that, the float market cap, it's a micro float, it's a biotech. We put those two together, micro cap and yeah, it's gonna have a rough time if you are trying to short it without a massive resistance. The news that they received it has something to do with a patent. And so, that's a fundamental change. And I think a patent is like a 80% kind of push worthy news, like news runner. Overall, the market was like tanking a little bit. And especially at the beginning of yesterday, but we also see how the day before, when it was doing the same thing, how that affected the stocks. Like we still had a lot of runners, which, I'm getting mixed signals here. So I don't know if that's actually helpful. Everything is all red today, and that's going to turn into like whatever it want to turn into. But BRTX kind of off the table, but you could technically gamble into that. It's just not high odds. HPX, this one went parabolic 9 to 50, pulled back 50%. A lot of people were expecting a bounce into this, probably back into the 40s at least, and a retest of the high. At the end of the day, I'd still treat this like a parabolic short. You got your really large pull, you get up, get a bounce into that consolidation to the high like window. I think a lot of people would see something there to short and like risk manage off of, because they spent a lot of the time yesterday creating little consolidations and like peaks and stuff. Only downside is very little volume. MTCH or MTC, this one gapped up in the after hours. When it gapped up, it was going through a resistance. That resistance was really close to being a gap through resistance. And because it did the gap through in the after hours, it looked a little stronger than normal. So it kind of doesn't fit the criteria anymore. But what we were looking at was, this had 5 million. It's at 13 million. Well, if we go to the closest one, that 13 million started at 127. Yesterday's close. Why is this up like that? Oh yeah, there we go. Yesterday's close was 158. Yeah. Main thing is it was sitting on top of the resistance that we wanted to use for it to gap through. So when it gapped up in the after hours to $3 like this, it was spending the whole day kind of slow grinding that said to be resistance. So we can't use the gap through anymore. Now it's kind of a fresh chart up to the next resistance. You saw it went up to 3. So yeah, there's that. I can't really say I wanted to do anything with that. Even if it did go into this next one and gets layered with this canceled one. It just seems like this is going to be choppier than I would want. Other than that, MTC, BRTX, and ONCS. Yeah, those three, they're micro floats and healthcare stocks. I don't really expect much, but the MTC, this one, it is from China. So I was expecting this no news move to pretty much be a pump and dump. And that pumper, what I was trying to look for was happening in the after hours. And it didn't go up as much as I would want for me to just, blindly think of IBO, not IBO. Was it IPO? That ticker that had 400 million resistance, and then it went from $4, gapped all the way up to 12, and then stayed up there for like 10 minutes, and then came all the way back down to 4, bounced to half, dropped the next day to 2. Like that kind of pump and dump, gap through resistance kind of play. Those are the same vibes I was getting from this ticker, like MTC. But since it happened in the after hours, I I don't know where this is going to go. I'm just going to watch it. Other than that, CDIO. Now, this was the one that everyone probably already saw. You remember we used it as a bounce short on the 28th. And yesterday, it spent the time grinding through that resistance from that day. So I called the break at like 3.5. And, when you look at the chart, it's a full break. So that means like it flipped 200 or it flipped 100%. And a lot of people were probably sizing in pretty hefty at that 100% from the break, which is like 3.5, unless you use the 4 as the break point. And up to about like 60, 660, where you're pretty much double where most of that consolidation was. Whether people were using it as support, a risk level, whatever, it was just a lot of volume down there. You double that gives you 660. People were going in at that point, but that was right before the open, or right before the close. So that makes it really hard to get in, but I went in anyway. It turned out well for me, but you can see that people got squeezed. So I made 8% on this, thinking about momentum shift. Pretty much like a mixture of like second green day and momentum shift. Like it had the statistics from the, from the consolidation and mixed with like how fast it actually went up. So I took a gamble, went in, didn't seem like it was supposed to crack where it was supposed to crack. And so I sized everything out. About 20 minutes later, then everyone got squeezed. And that's what happened there. There's also ONCS. This one, I forgot what we saw in this. Oh yeah, this one has a resistance starting at like 280, goes up to like 380. And we were looking for a spike into the 3.5 before we did any type of trade into it. And it fell really early, probably like 15% off the, well, technically it'd be like 10% off the resistance. And because it did that, yeah, 3.6 to 2.63. And it fell at 265 because it fell really early. Didn't even borrow. It faded really well. A lot of people that went in expecting that early drop because they were looking at the market tanking and stuff like that. It just fit their stats. A lot of people made like 20+% on this. I was not one of them. At the end of the day, this was a good trade, but it kind of fits into the early short category, or at least for me, because when you go intraday, there is no like solid. Wait, is this the same? There we go. I think it's this one. Okay, now I'm just confused. Yeah, but depending on, yeah, 1129. Yeah, we looked at this one yesterday. Yeah, but I was saying before that I wanted to be safe about it, use 3.5, but it seems people used the daily candle and saw that 24 million, which I actually thought it was 27 yesterday, was big enough to scare people early because it was so extended to the point that, it was a gap plus bounce, or not gap plus bounce. What do you call that? Actually, that might be it. 1 second. CDIO showing some weakness. Yeah, I see that. It's it went up to 8. Now it still has that momentum shift kind of feel, but it's slowly coming back too. And now it's officially a multi-day runner. So I don't know how that's going to go out. It easily turn into something like a head and shoulders looking thing, double layer resistance, gap down in the morning, just come right back up. But since there's no intraday consolidation, since it just grinded all yesterday, nothing we could risk off of besides the high. But ONCS, this one, when it gapped up from 1 to the pre-market high of 2.45, that was 130%. That's definitely enough to feel overextended for a lot of people. You know, my favorite number to go in on is like 110 and 140, stuff like that. That's definitely the case in this place. And that's just for like a gap up short. That's no resistance, just normal extended. I have some type of consistent resistance acting as a magnet to bring me back down kind of play. And then you had your 20% push. So it fit all those right criteria. You know how there's some pretty bad bounce shorts that look like gap up shorts. This was one of those. It was great. I just didn't see that at the time. But yeah, it fit that gap plus bounce criteria like pretty well. And it didn't fade as much as I would think. But overall, yeah, this was a missed trade, and I track it as such. Overall, since it didn't fade a lot, it did kind of give me the idea of Steven's new idea about neutral, we call it dollar maintenance. Pretty much like the neutralized area for these cheaper tickers is so high that it's affecting the volume, like the profit margin of the ticker itself. And that caused a spike to the next day, which is, you know, you can see it's higher than before. So I don't know how this one's going to turn out. I do think of like multi-day charts that, you know, do fake outs and then goes right back down. But now you have a whole layer, almost 2, of support right there. So don't know how that's going to turn out. I think that's all I wanted to talk about for now. Yeah. I feel like there was LH something. I think I saw someone say it. LHDX. Turn this one off. DX. Oh, no, it's $1. There's another one. I have it on my other computer. Yeah, but nothing super special came out yesterday. But ONCS, that was the one that was missed. In terms of the setup. Reminds me. I have to write that. All right, guys, I'm going to get ready to get on Steven's webinar. Other than that, there's another thing. I just forgot what it was. Oh, yeah. Most of these are SPACs, like SPAC. You know, that's the recent trend. Illiquid SPACs running crazy. And most of them are. They have something to do with space. Just needs volume. Yeah. If you're talking BLBX, has potential for pre-market breakout. Well, it used to be $1. It's still $1. Yeah. I need to see its volume. Oh, right there. Oh no. I changed this. Oh yes, BRTX. Yeah, so I don't think this can turn into a pre-market breakout. Reason being, when I think pre-market breakout, most of the time I just get stuck on it being a flat chart, it having no over layers or layers of overhead resistance, and the pre-market is very unique. Not unique, but it has a pullback that you're trying to break. This one, I don't see that. Okay, let's look on this one. Probably looks a little easier, a little better. I don't know why this isn't working. There we go. Yeah, like this 1.42 and this 1.6. I don't know the actual average daily volume on this, but this just looks real spotty. And I wouldn't like, how do you say this? Like, it doesn't look like there's enough volume for it to do an ABCD pattern. And then you have the break of that pre-market high match the move that you want to see to continue momentum throughout the day to make it into a pretty much an overextended gap down, because like that's what pre-market breakout usually looks like, if you're going for the one that I like to go for. Yeah, and this one also is completely far away from the minimum requirement for the volume for that continuation to happen. So I don't think so. In terms of this looking like a pre-market breakout. The float market cap seems okay. the news kind of confused how that's gonna go, especially being like a day older. But we've seen lately some news gets delayed or it takes a while for people to understand what that means. All right, let's see. Webinar is about to start. Do you know when the recorded conference will be available? Normally, it goes out within 2 weeks. I've already watched it twice. Like, not the recorded, but I watched the raw footage that I took. I think you'll like it. I'm surprised it's actually not out now. Well, not surprised after a few developments, but yeah. Things should change real soon, like a drastic change. Hopefully for the better. Okay, so Steven says, market's dead, webinar tomorrow, question mark. Works for me, works for me. Yeah, everybody else is on board with the idea. So, yeah, but he's right about one thing. Market's dead for now. I thought it was kind of dead yesterday, but you saw how many things popped up, like especially APX, CIDO. That one was kind of harder to see. I feel like there were two other ones. Oh yeah, but the biggest miss for me was ONCS. Like, we saw the extension, we saw the resistance, but I just tunneled on the resistance just because I told you before, I'm only trying to go for resistance plays. And I only focused on like how far I wanted to go into that resistance. Yeah. But all right, guys, be safe. If you trade anything, which I think the closest thing would probably be CDIO. Because a lot of people, like the early shorts and the chasers, or the people that add to winners, they have been rewarded a lot lately for just chasing things. Like Lion. Like when Lion went all the way down from 34 in the pre-market. Like, it was two tickers like this. Like, everybody expected it to go up to 30. I was thinking 40 eventually. But yeah, it just went down the entire day. This was another one of those things that made me think, oh, the market's going to die, because like it just tanked right at the open. And then it was red yesterday on SPY and a few other things. So I'm just like, oh, everything's just really weak today. I called it quits. Did some other stuff, came back, everything's popping. So much FOMO. But yeah, it's time to head out. Be safe, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.